What is going on, peeps? Thanks for coming back here at Setting the Bar at Dave's. And today is a very special episode. I have my first bona fide guest. He is lawyer turned published author. And we talk about his book that he's just trying to get out and get released and trying to get people's eyes turned to it. It is The Last Triceracorn. So you can see the cover right here. This is by Vincent Miceli. If you guys are on Spotify, I'm putting the audio out. He has a book. It's called The Last Triceracorn by Vincent Miceli. And we get into talking about his inspiration of writing it and how the process was of getting it out there and trying to get people to notice it and everything else. It was quite an interesting conversation. And I hope he'll come back when he does do another book. And hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Stick around. Thanks.
Hear the music.
Okay, all you freshman punks, listen up!
We have sort of a problem here.
No, man, nothing is fucked here.
You cool, man?
I'm the dude, man.
Why should I change? He's the one who sucks.
What do you think of a person who only does the bare minimum?
The older you do get, the more rules are gonna try to get you to follow.
Ah, fuck it, dude. Let's go bold.
You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
So have you done a podcast or anything?
Yeah, my first one was on Zoom. And I think it was right after the book came out, maybe towards the end of last year. So that's what I was asking him. I was at my office. He was at his office. I saw him. He saw me. But when they did the podcast, it was only being recorded. So there was no video.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that was the only one I've done.
I'm recording and it's on video. So
Okay.
I'm going to release it dual. I do audio on Spotify and then I do
Oh, cool.
video on
Okay.
YouTube. If everything accepts well and I don't go too long on YouTube.
Sure.
I upload it on YouTube so I can double dip.
Okay.
So, but yeah, the Last Triceracorn. Where did you come up with that name for this book, first of all?
It started back with my daughters when they were little, just making up these stories at bedtime. And I think I just came up with a combination because they loved unicorns, but I didn't want to always make it babyish.
Okay.
So it just came up with, Triceratops, unicorn, those two together, and that's just how it started.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Pretty simple explanation.
So
but
it's on a kid's imagination right now. Is what you're riding on.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Cool.
It's 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even pick. I've never met you until today, and I didn't picture yourself to be, an older man as myself. And this guy, I'm like, where the hell are you getting this imagination from? Because I lost that imagination back in my 20s.
And that's funny. And I was thinking about that. I never really, I guess, had that type of imagination as a kid, although I always read. So maybe by reading so much, I was picking up on others.
Expanded that horizon.
And then I guess, stored it away until many decades later when I had kids. And as we talked about, the main characters are my daughters. Mm-hmm. And when they were real little, 3 and 1, like every good parent reads to them at nighttime.
Right.
The problem is the older one had such a memory that she would memorize all the books. And she memorized all the presidents when she was 4. Okay. She memorized all states and capitals when she was 3. So when I would read her these stories at nighttime, she wasn't really getting excited as a 4-year-old because she memorized everything. So it was becoming boring.
Okay.
So then one night I just said, okay, smart guy, let's have some fun tonight. I'm going to tell you a new story.
Yeah, challenge her a little
And I just made up a story on the spot about a magical bear. And she loved it so much, I could never read her another story besides the Zuko stories.
Really?
Yeah, so that's how it started.
Because you start out the book with quite a predicament that the characters end up in, and obviously things work out for them. But I don't want to give too much away, but they're in such a hairy predicament in the opening scene, and you're like, all right, well, how are they going to get out of this?
And that's really and again, I'm thinking like, how they were when they eventually became like 8, 9, 10, like what grasped them, what made them interested. And I tried to make it like the first page, like a page turner, because we've always, I'm sure we've all read those books where even some books that I wound up loving, like the first chapter or two was just hard to get through. Yeah. And one of my favorite books of all time, and I don't want to say what it is, but the first chapter I had to put it down and pick up like 3 times because it was so boring. But then it was one of my favorite books. Right. So I didn't want that to happen because with kids and their attention span, might not quite
they
be
kind
there.
of get away from the plot if you sit there and try to draw it out and put subplots in there.
Right, and that's why I tried to make it just like in the meat of things right off the bat.
Yeah, and it is, and I love how it starts out. And
Thanks.
And the characters, and you got a 6-legged henchman out to it's just like,
yes,
where are we going here?
Again, just trying to keep them captivated. And it was funny because one of the very first Zoom calls I had with one of my first readers, it was a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
He just said he just loved how it was like cliffhanger after cliffhanger after cliffhanger. And as you go through the book, I purposely made it, there was never like that dull moment.
Okay.
Because, in every movie or every book, again, there's always that dull time.
Sure.
Well, I try to get away from that because, again, I'm trying to picture an 8-year-old's attention span.
Right.
And I try to make it not too boring where there's always something adventurous happening.
Right. Just enough to give him a breath and just kind of look.
Right, exactly.
All right, look around and shit, something else coming.
That's right.
It's
And,
like,
and
okay,
now
yeah.
some of these book signings or some of the schools, I'm circling back a second time, and it's nice running into the kids and how excited they are, and just saying like, it was so exciting. I didn't want to stop. My parents were like telling me to turn off the lights and go to bed, but I wanted to keep reading. I mean, that was pretty cool to hear.
So what inspired you to turn basically a bedtime story for your daughter into a book? What made you think that this was going to do anything for you?
I didn't. I have on my website. It's funny. I created a website, and the number one question I get all the time is, or statement, I didn't know you were an author. And I say, neither did I, and I still don't consider myself an author. I just consider myself a father who told his children bedtime stories for years and years and years, and basically pulled those stories together to form a book.
Huh.
And that's really how it started. So, 4 and 1 for about 7 or 8 years, religiously always telling them new stories.
Uh-huh.
And then for years and years after that, they kept saying, Dad, you need to put those Zuko stories into a book. And I was like, forget it. I don't have time. I'm busy. I'm working.
Yeah.
And then I think I was on vacation somewhere. And one time I just sat down for like 15 minutes and I started typing something up. And then another 15 minutes and another 15 minutes. I mean, it took 5 years. I think it started in 2017. So it took 5 years, took a long time, but eventually it was all done. And it was funny because my oldest daughter told me after I wrote it how to go about getting it published. I didn't, research how to write and publish a book. I did it backwards. I wrote the book first and then said, okay, how do we get this published?
Right.
And it was a lot more difficult than I found out. But I didn't do it to become an author or famous or rich or whatever. I just did it to be cool with my kids in the sense that, hey, look, I wrote all these stories for you guys, and here's a little bit of nostalgia, when you were growing up in here. So it was really for them.
Yeah.
More than
Plus they
anything
got
else.
something to pass on to their kids.
Oh,
too.
right. And it's pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
So how hard is it to stay on point? Because obviously you're not going to be sitting there and you're not going to write this all in one day.
Right.
How do you stay
That's difficult.
on the plot line without swaying or getting too much, too
No,
much
it's tough.
fat on it,
I guess if I say for a full-time author and you sit down and write this thing out like in a month, that's probably a lot easier because it took me 5 years. And after the 5 years, I then published, because this is book 1 of 2.
Oh.
So I published book 1, then you have to advertise it. And then I started going to all these little, markets or festivals, meeting kids selling my book. And then I went back about a month ago to proofread book 2, and so many things in there I forgot that I even wrote. It was actually kind of funny because I'm reading, you could sense like a cliffhanger coming,
Yeah.
and I didn't even remember what I wrote. And I'm like, what's going to happen next? And I wrote it. So that was kind of funny being like, oh yeah, because when you go back and you correct it so many times,
Yeah.
you forget what was the end result.
Yeah, because you overlap it so many times in
Correct.
your brain, you just kind of, once you
Right.
move past it, it's past.
And there's something simple like in here, for example, like the kids, in one predicament, they get a bag full of marbles, and each kid has a different bag of marbles. Well, for some reason, I wound up switching who had what bag of marbles. So if there's like a trivia question right now, like who had the black marbles, I don't remember because at one time this one had it, and then this one had it, and then this one had it.
Who had the lotion belt?
Yeah,
and who
so,
had the potion belt?
So a lot of it I don't remember. So it's funny that you should say that or ask that because it is difficult to stay on point.
Yeah, and it seems like because it's so far fetched, but yet it's almost like a Marvel story where it's like in the grasp of like, man, this could happen in another dimension, like connected to ours.
And that's what I
you know?
did too. I tried to make it almost like, now that you said that, it's pretty interesting. Maybe like a watered down version of like the Marvel for kids, but not so like Iron Man or Wolverine.
Yeah,
I
no.
tried to make it more, and I think in the very first sentence it says, a modern day fantasy. So I
Right.
tried to make it in today's day and age with some kids that have some abilities, but are not like flying or turning invisible.
Right.
So I tried to make them different.
Yeah, and you're not creating creatures that have, well, well, Krug has the his tongue.
Yeah, and his magma tail. Yeah. So, but no, I try to introduce some interesting characters like that, just so kids can stay interested and be vested in the book.
Well, that's cool.
Did you create the character in your head, or did you draw the character out as best you could?
I think when I was doing this, a lot of it I would almost close my eyes and vision watching something on like a movie. So I think I wrote it out first, and then I would go back and reread it and almost close my eyes and picture it in real time on the screen. So I tried to write almost like every word or every sentence so you would visualize it.
Gotcha.
So
Because that's what it seems like, too, when you're reading it, because you're trying to paint the picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think with Krug, I started off with, in my mind, okay, I want to make it not a typical dragon. Let's make it something like a Komodo dragon, but let's give it something interesting, like maybe more legs, or a magma-laced tail, or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's like something out of the dark pages of Disney.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
I'm great at building things, but I can't create things. Like if someone tells me what to build, I can build it. So I've always been interested, like, do they create the character first when they write the book, or do they?
Yeah, I think I did that. I think I created the character, but on the spot. I mean, there was no...
But it's based on basically your daughters, because you gave thanks to them because of their imagination is what put it into motion.
Oh, yeah,
pretty much,
there's lots of little... how do I say, hidden secrets in there that probably they and I would only know, such as, the very first time I heard my daughters, I was working at home, and I just heard click, 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 and I'm like, what is that sound? And here my 2-year-old had like the little Disney princess with the plastic shoes, and she was walking on the tile. So you hear like the clicking sound. And
I've heard that sound.
They used to make up games when they were little, and I got inspired from one of those stories. My younger daughter, who has a headband on here, well, when she was 2 years old, she used to wear a little headband crown, and she said she was able to talk to snakes. At her imagination.
Okay.
At age 2.
Yeah.
And that's how I incorporated it somewhat in. That gave me the idea.
Yeah.
For the story.
Okay.
So a lot of it comes off of them too.
Gotta love kids and their
Oh,
imagination.
exactly. I mean, as adults, like you said, we kind of lose that.
Yeah, because we're wrapped up in the world and then the inevitable doom that's coming.
Right. And I think maybe I stayed a little, maybe I stayed fresh with that because I was always telling them stories as kids.
Yeah.
So for 10 years, I didn't lose that, so to say.
Right.
So again, just to try and keep them interested and excited.
Oh.
Do you have any interest in doing any other kinds of books?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun for me, almost like a release. I guess almost like, say, you go fishing or hiking or working out. It was kind of therapeutic and relaxing.
Okay.
Now, outside of the kids' book, you're a lawyer during
Correct.
the day.
Correct.
Do you want to turn those stories into books?
No, I think,
Have you come across anything interesting like that in the courtroom? Like.
Well, sure. I mean, I was a huge reader always growing up. And then even, in college and law school, I loved the John Grisham books.
Yes.
I read all, the Pelican Brief. I mean,
Yep.
The Firm.
I mean, I love those.
The Partner.
Right. So I read all those books, and I always was in like the mysteries, and lots of different. I have them all on my shelves. This is before the Nook and
Yeah.
So they're all hardcover on my
Yeah.
shelf. So I used to read. We go on vacation. I'd bring 4 or 5 hardbacks with me, and if I was ever to write more books, it wouldn't be about that.
No.
Because I've been doing that for 30 years. I wouldn't want to write about something I've been doing for 30 years. So this was, like I said, a very nice release from something totally different.
Right.
Although it's funny, book 2 is done. Book 2 went to the publisher about 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
Not to have a spoiler in there. There is a chapter or 2 that deals with the courtroom setting, but it's, with the kids involved.
Right.
So it's not.
So it's like Thor in front of Zeus.
Right. I don't want to say it's humdrum and dry like you see in the real court of law.
Right.
So there is some fun in there. And I was actually thinking, I wonder if I write more books with this, say, teenage setting. I might always incorporate a scene or 2 from court.
Yeah.
Just almost as like my little signature note.
Or law enforcement, or
Just something fun. Yeah, just something fun like
Now,
that.
have your daughters introduced you into like the Amazon audiobooks to have people read for you?
No, they have not.
Might want to look into that because I've done 2 novels already.
Okay. Someone did ask if it was available in audio yet, and I said not yet. again, still trying to get my feet grounded in the first one.
Right.
I thought, writing it was difficult. That was actually fun.
Yeah.
And then I thought the editing was very difficult because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So
So you didn't send it off to an editor?
no,
Wow.
I did it. It took me 1 year to write.
Okay.
It took me 3.5 years to edit
That's wow.
Yeah.
because I probably went back 25 times.
Yeah.
And then a year
It's
and
the
a
same thing
half
with
to
audio.
publish. So, I mean, it took a lot, again, being a perfectionist, and all that was difficult. But really, the hardest part of all this is to try to get the word out.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a book agent, if you don't have a sponsor
publicist
or
and
a
whatever,
publicist, right? If you're just a grassroots, like I am, kind of guy by night, it's hard to get the word out. It really is.
Yeah, and it's just like anything else, like this podcast, for instance. I've only been doing this a year,
Right.
and
you know as well as anybody. Yeah, it's tough.
and I went to the school for it, just to learn how to market myself and do all that stuff, and then be on the social media sites and do all, put yourself out there and market.
Absolutely.
Dude, I'm on Twitter every day, putting my site up there, putting all the books that I read. I have little the bounty URLs, so if somebody clicks on it, I get paid for somebody.
Oh, okay.
So
See, I don't even know about that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to do Twitter. To be honest with you.
No, well, I didn't either.
And I never even went on social media until I published my book.
Yeah.
Because someone's like, you have to do it.
Yep.
You have to.
Yeah.
See, I didn't.
That's where they're at.
I had my Facebook page. Didn't really interact on it at all because number one, I was in the military, and military frowns on freaking
Right.
social
understand
interaction.
that.
So for secrecy and all that kind of shit. So I never really interacted on my Facebook. But now I'm in the media school, and now I have to learn how to market myself, and I have to be out in the
Right.
public, and I have to
Sign of the times. in a way.
Yeah, and it's so much different because I don't know how to present it to the proper age bracket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to get a whole conglomerate, because nowadays it's like if I think something's funny, kids like 20 years younger than I will probably think
They
it's
don't
disgusting.
find nearly. No, not at all.
Or people older than me will think like, well, I've seen that before,
Right. No, I get that.
So it's kind of like a hard line to get because the comedy of today now
it's
they're just
different.
Yeah, it's so much different, but they're on the attack of everybody that would attack them, which is fine.
But one thing I know I did learn about social media, it can be a valuable weapon.
Oh,
because
yes.
just to get out there to the masses. And one thing that comes to mind is who was the young kid who was 15 years old at the time? He wrote the book Aragorn. If it was made into a movie with Sean
Aragorn?
Connery. Yeah, with Sean Connery.
The dragon.
Yes. So
Yes,
my
it is.
understanding, I think what I read was, he wrote it at 15, and he spent time going to all the libraries over the country, driving to them back in the day. I think it was like in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because now imagine what you can accomplish that with the click of a button nowadays.
Yeah.
So it is advantageous. You just
Yeah.
have to learn how to use it, and that's where I'm trying to still catch up.
Yeah, well, same here.
It's a job. It's a full-time job to be out there on social media and to get things out there and to get it.
Well, plus you sit there and see the kids, maneuver through it like it's
Right.
nothing. But you also got to think about it. That's all they do.
And that's how they were raised.
Yeah, and that's all they have.
If you're raised in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we had the phones with the cords on the wall.
Yeah, and you can only go so far,
That's right. So
because
it's
I love
different.
what I love on Twitter too is that they sit there and show what kids are doing in third world countries or whatever
really?
that don't have anything and what they do to entertain themselves. I'm like,
sure.
yeah. I'm like, after a rain, their little path or walkway becomes a mudslide, and then you see them in a train just sliding down the hill, just like.
Well, it's the same, not the same thing, but think about, I don't know how old you are, but back in, the 70s and 80s, a cardboard box sliding down the stairs was entertainment.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
You put that on, and you just
right.
hopefully
Or the
you got a straight
laundry
staircase.
Laundry basket.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did the laundry basket.
I
several
bet
times.
kids nowadays would look at you like you're nuts if you suggest that.
Yeah, that's not safe.
Yeah, is this even fun?
So, but no, I agree.
So it's really interesting, just especially because number one of the fact is that you're a lawyer and
Yeah, no one saw us coming, and I didn't even see it coming. Again, it was just them convincing me to put those stories together. They really peppered me for like 10 years.
so now you have a whole horizon you got to branch out now to
Right.
put the word out.
It'd be
'Cause like
fun.
I just mentioned, Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm a publicist. I got 2 books out, 2 novels out on.
I'm a book
Amazon.
on tape guy. I'm not gonna lie.
So
I like to listen to things when I drive.
Yeah, no, that
I don't
makes
like
sense.
to talk to people. I like to just focus, put things on and listen. I do podcasts and I do talk radio and I love books.
Yeah.
That's how I got through the entire Game of Thrones series.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
I was a truck driver for many years, last couple of years, and I would drive across the country. Just put these on and just listen.
See, it's funny. Now, I don't think I ever listened to one audio book, but I never was in the car for long periods of time
Right.
where I like to read it and visualize it myself. I wonder if I was to listen to someone else read it, if I would visualize it differently.
That's a good question, because I was wondering, because he gets his own interpretation of the book and does his own interpretation of the book and his own sounds and his own voices and stuff. I wonder if the author read his own book, how that would sound.
The author, he sent me great feedback. You know, the character, because I put my own voices to the characters. Whatever I see. And
Oh,
whatever I
really?
think.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Because like his main antagonist in the story ended up being hospitalized, and I made the Dr. Indian.
Interesting.
Because he was like, "Oh, hello, how are you doing today, Mr. Todd? How are you doing?" And I go, "Oh, that's good. It's very good, very good." You know.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because when I read my entire book, I read it in the same voice, in the same, like, my head.
Oh,
I don't change.
You don't listen to it. You don't
No.
hear your kids' voices or anything. Okay.
No, I read it just almost as the narrator.
Oh no.
And it's just one straight voice all the way across.
Oh, no.
It's
See,
interesting you say that.
And I grew up on Robin Williams.
Oh, yeah.
That's why
Yeah, he was
I'm always trying to think of different voices. Like I did a cowboy. I did a cowboy book. It's called Red Rock Canyon. Since it's out and I did it, I can fucking say it because I got royalties on it.
Good.
And K5, K15 Contagion. That's the other book.
When
Same
you
author.
said K5.
Or, yeah,
The company we
K15.
worked with in the union.
Little plug there.
But the first one was all cowboys and just like real grunt fucking voices and just like what's going on.
Oh, see, that's interesting.
You know, just like shit like that, or freaking like Sam Elliott type
Yeah,
voice,
yeah.
like real deep and real, how you doing? You know,
Yeah.
just like all types of shit. So I always try to do it based on the story and where it is in the scene.
Yeah, that's
You know?
interesting. The
The only thing I can't do
never
is
thought-
women voices. Of
Never
course.
thought of that.
But yeah, I mean that's why I'm saying people can put it out there, and being that that's a kid's book,
Yeah.
they'd probably want to hear a variation of different kind of things like Krug.
Yeah.
You know, like
See, I would picture. I was just saying. I picture like a deeper now voice that you said it.
yeah,
Almost
so-
not as high pitch as Schmegel, but more
yeah,
of a
no,
deeper.
like put a freaking like a Slytherin
Yeah.
type voice in
So
there.
that's
and just be
interesting.
like, yeah.
So but
See,
you did all that without, when you wrote it, you didn't. Yeah. Okay.
No.
Huh.
No. So I was just using more the visual
Yeah.
as opposed to the audio.
You weren't just thinking of voices
So-
No.
or anything
Yeah.
like that.
And
Never
you-
once thought of how he would sound. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it is actually.
Or any
Mind-boggling.
character. Or any character.
See, but that's fine because all you're doing is just creating a dialogue for
Correct.
someone else to feed off.
Correct.
And
Now
they
you know
can
I
create
chose
their
them
own.
for what
They
I
can
chose
create
them
their
for.
own story in their head from what they're reading and visualize whatever they want to see from what he's putting on the paper in their own head.
Right.
So they're making their own story, being able to peel it off of that page. You know, everybody can read the same story, but they're going to visualize it
In
differently.
their own imagination.
Yeah.
Just like, and that's the great thing when you're younger, like you said, and you still have that vivid imagination. Everyone reads it and they picture something differently. And that's why I try to be as descriptive as possible.
Yeah.
So I brought up the Game of Thrones, but the guy that they had narrate the Game of Thrones was so good at it that they put him in Game of Thrones.
Which one was he?
He was the guy that was he was in charge of the dragon. What do they call the dragon water?
What, you talking about Tyrion? The
no,
midget?
the guy that was down in the dungeon, and
See, I'll have to
the
go back.
Maester. The Maester.
Yeah, the Maester,
What's
yeah.
his name? Yeah, I don't know his name.
he
but I
was
know
the
what
guy
you're
that
talking about.
narrate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Game of Thrones, all the books until he passed away.
I'll have to go back and look into that. The one narrator I thought that was fantastic was the movie 300.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes,
I
yes.
liked his voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, or Peter Dinklage.
Yes.
The little
Yeah,
dude.
he did
from-
great.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you, I don't know if you have Netflix, but if you have How to Become a Tyrant,
I don't think I've seen that.
I haven't.
check that out. It's narrated by Peter Dinklage.
Is it really?
And it goes all through
He's a great actor.
Oh,
he's
he's
awesome.
a great actor. His voice is awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so they go through the historical dictators that have taken over and get killed throughout time. You know,
Okay.
through Hitler and Muammar Gaddafi, Idi Amin.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah, always, if I'm not writing, 10:30 at night, when I finally sit down for the last half hour, I like to watch something on Netflix. So,
So do I. I'm a
How to Become a
documentary guy.
Tyrant. That's one for it's good. It's
Well,
a good
I like
laugh.
all different things. I mean, I'll want, like, last night I started something called Vatican Girl, this girl that was kidnapped.
Oh, yeah,
out of the
yeah.
Vatican. So
Yeah.
I just started that. I like documentaries.
Yeah.
And Netflix has a great way of producing them, so they don't seem like they were made, in your backyard with, sea actors,
Right.
So anything along those lines, I really enjoy.
Yeah, and the Vatican Girl one.
I just only saw the first episode, so it's pretty.
I can't give it
Yeah.
away there.
I have not
It's
seen that.
interesting. It just
It's
when
only
it,
like 4 episodes, I think.
yeah, and once you start it out, you're kind of like, oh,
Yeah, what's going on?
is it something else that they're gonna sweep underneath the fucking rug?
Right. So
You
something
know?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they've done a couple of things I've watched recently that I've been really impressed with.
Yeah.
The F1 series. I don't even care about F1. And me and my daughter were sitting next to each other, and she's 7. And, the trailer will play when it's on pause
What's
or whatever.
the F1? What's that one?
The F1 series racing.
Oh, okay.
Formula. Yeah.
Formula One racing, sorry.
Okay. No, sorry.
Speaking sports lingo
Yeah,
there, my
sorry.
bad.
Yeah, no, I watched the Malaysian airplane disappearance of the Malaysian.
Yes, I watched that one too.
Yeah.
So
My wife was like, "What do you mean they didn't find it?" I'm like, "Well,
and I'm starting
It's
to actually,
gone.
I'm starting to enjoy these documentaries that are like only 4 series long.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go. What happened 3 seasons
Like
ago?
Fear
Yeah.
City. This is where Giuliani took down the
I haven't
5
seen that one yet.
the 5 families.
Is it short too?
I
Or
think
is
that's
it-
a four
Yeah.
episode.
See, I like those.
Yeah.
Because again, sometimes if you watch something 2 or 3 seasons and then they take like a year off, when you come back to watch it, you're like, I don't remember what happened.
Yeah.
you got to watch the whole thing
Yeah,
over again." And
yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
So
no, yeah, it's a good little 4-episode series. It's where Giuliani took down the 5 families
Cool.
in New York.
I'll watch it.
It's
Is it?
yeah, it's
The,
brutal.
the
It's
Offer
brutal.
was one I had just watched.
You mentioned it to me. I
Yeah,
haven't watched it
That
yet.
was great. It's about the making of The Godfather.
haven't
And how
watched
the
that.
producer, they basically find the producer, and he was the producer from Hogan's Hero. Our generation would only know that, but
I was watching something on Patton today, and I didn't really know like the depths of Patton. His whole family like dates back to the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. And
It's one of
everything.
those names, like you said, you know it, but you don't know it.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, so how is that precedent on today? And his whole family like helped build the whole East and everything. I was like, oh my
and how he
God.
died was such a bummer.
Yeah, in a car crash at
Yeah.
60 years old, And he was dyslexic.
Didn't know that.
Yeah,
Didn't know that one either.
he went to West Point, failed the first time around, had to go again for the second time and barely passed because he was just he couldn't do anything. So he had to sit there and
And that was before probably it was really known.
right.
Because a lot of those symptoms and
Yeah,
things that we know nowadays, people just,
he was taken as slow.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he was taken as slow just because he couldn't read,
Right.
and he couldn't digest the words in his own brain. But he had to sit there and memorize everything that was going on in class for him to be able to pass anything. So his
So now you got me interested.
yeah, it's really cool, and I didn't know anything about that. I was like, wow, I thought he was just some hard ass, just like he's just smacking soldiers around. Get the fuck out!
Old pearl handles. So, question about the book: if you had never thought about the voices, does that mean if you did want to decide to make this into a movie, you hadn't even thought about the characters if they came to life? You were just narrating.
I think that's farther from your mind, right?
Yeah,
A
it was
movie?
all visual. Again, all visual. When I told the stories to my kids, it was always in my voice. So I would never go off and emulate different voices for different characters.
No, I'd always try to do that just for the giggles.
Well,
and the
I
laughs
think it's
for it,
also maybe like who you are, what you think, or how you think. I just never thought that. I was always focused and thinking more about the words of the story and how the story transpired as opposed to the voices.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, you're just like I said. You're just painting the picture.
That's
and
it.
Just like you can take what you want.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why when I started reading his writing and listening to the way that he would talk about his writing, I asked him to write the page, it was the way he writes. And when I mean the page, it was a scene of of something. We have a project coming up, and the little things that he would, like the refrigerator, the door, the hallway,
well, it's just in the
muttering.
action. It's just on the action to help put you into your mind of what's happening.
I can't think that way.
Well, when I've been to about 5 or 6 grade schools and elementary schools, and usually I'll sit there and I'll speak to them and I'll talk about the book, and then they do the questions and answers. Then we talk about reading and writing and hard work and stay in school, and just trying to be descriptive. I'll give an example. I'll be like, I'll walk across the room and I'll be like, what did I just do? And they said, you walked across the room. I said, exactly. I said, now watch this. And I would like limp across the room. What did I just do? You limped across the room. You go, good. Then I would slouch and like mope across the room. And I said, if you just say he walked across the room, you'll never visualize these other ways. That's why you have to describe it to someone.
Right.
And then it's cute. You'll see like 10 years like, oh yeah.
So
a little light bulb.
Yeah, like little reactions to dialogue, like
Right,
being let down, and as he slumped and
Right. So
floundered
and
across
that's
the room.
that's the way
Yeah.
I think when I was writing this.
Yeah, I can tell because
Try to-
it's so descriptive in such a fun way.
So and like he was saying with this future project that we have, I've been working with a buddy of mine that I met in media school who turned out to be a freaking computer genius.
Really?
I mean, he creates those 3D animation worlds that you see.
Yeah, he was mentioning.
Like an Avatar or whatever. That's what he does.
That's pretty cool.
And he's working for Epicverse right now. And he's submitting some of his work to Epicverse so that way he can go, I have an idea.
That's pretty wild.
So that way they'll fund it and we can do our project. Because he needs green screen and he needs it done properly for him to do it. Because he's got all the camera work. He's got this, what is it, the 6K camera that he got and he can just plug it in and he can see the world on his screen from where.
Yeah, that's a whole different world for me.
Yeah. So he wants to do this.
I didn't even know where's the 6K. So
Yeah, it's way higher than that. Believe it or not. Yeah.
But he goes on to tell me that he needs to approach somebody with, number one, a storyline, a bulletin board. Just basically story. Giving it a basis of what the story that he's trying to present to Netflix. That's what we were supposed to do. We were trying to do this last year, but everybody that he called for green screen and said, "Oh yeah, I know what I'm doing," didn't know what the hell they were doing. They were just like run down little warehouses and just like little cubicles with green screen and say, "Here you go, here it is." It's like, no, that's not what we're looking for. We need something professional because he has a car that he wants to incorporate and he wants to do some stuff with that. He wanted to do some like pyrotechnic work, just like pops and stuff, so that way he has something to add explosions to.
Sure.
And the one thing that he's getting stalled on is the green screen work and finding somebody that can actually write. So it's like, okay, but now we have a writer. Now I'm like, all right, well, I need to get the director and the writer together so that way we can be like, this is his idea and this is what he sees.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Because his idea, from what it explains to me, is like basically 30 years in the future, if pretty much World War III broke out, the Democrats took over here, took everybody's guns, and only the bad people had guns, and only a select few good people had guns that were in hiding, pretty much. And they would only come out to fuck up the bad guys. That's basically what the premise is that if you get exposed as a gun carrier, you got to move because then you're wanted.
Right, and Anna was explaining that a little bit to me.
Yeah.
And I was throwing some titles of other movies around just to try to get a feel. And I think the Book of Eli was one that came out.
It's like a Book of Eli meets John Wick.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like it's supposed to be like action packed along with like those stupid little comedy one liners.
Right.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I was just gonna
around,
say you're talking to a kid from the '80s, so the first
the
thing I
Arnold
think
lines.
of is Arnold. I'll be back.
Yeah. No. Predator, man. Stick around.
Absolutely, he's probably the king of those.
Oh yeah.
God.
I watch them. I still watch those movies today, and I'm still like, wow, they're so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So bad.
What was the one where he dropped the guy off the cliff, and he's like, well, "What happened to
Commando.
I let him go.
I let him go.
Yeah.
I let him go.
I thought you were gonna kill me last. I lied.
I lied.
See, we all know the lines.
Oh, we know. Because they're so easy to memorize. They're
that's
just
true.
But
one-liners.
what did he say when he killed the black dude in the hotel, though? When he
The
kicked
Green Beret. I eat green berets for breakfast.
and I'm very hungry.
But we remember them, right?
Oh, we do. I do. I'm terrible. I still watch them.
I love Commando. That's a great one.
Yeah.
How'd you know they were there? I smelled them.
Yeah. Wait, downwind? You want me to? You expect me to smell them coming? I did.
Well, that was it. It was either Jean-Claude Van Damme, him,
Oh,
or
no.
Sly
Yeah.
in the 80s,
Yeah.
where everyone would only attack one at a time.
Yes. Yeah. They would all wait for him to
Yeah,
get beat
yeah,
up, and then they would come in to get beat up.
The humor.
Yes. Yes.
God. And nobody knows the classic comedies anymore. I was talking to my buddy about this on the last show that we had. It's like, you mentioned lines from Caddyshack or shit, man. Like an old Whoopi Goldberg, like Jumpin' Jack Flash or something like that. Just drop lines from those, and people will look at you like you're the funniest fucking guy on earth. But you're like, man, that
But I thought about that, though. I mean, my kids will sometimes roll their eyes when I'm like, oh, you need to watch this movie. And it was a good movie that I found, say, in the 80s or 90s. But I guess if our parents said, oh, you got to watch Gone with the Wind, I'd be like, So I just wonder if it's a generational
whatever,
thing.
you're racist.
No.
It's just a generational thing, maybe.
No, we've gotten my kids into some pretty probably movies they probably shouldn't have watched, You know, like my son who's only 8 loves Ferris Bueller.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he thinks it's one of the greatest movies.
That's more like a high school type.
Yeah, he likes movies
coming of age movie. Almost.
Yeah,
he
coming of
likes
age,
movies
exactly.
that one are from Chicago, two have, like you said, some fast paced. 80s movies were fast paced. They were only an hour and a half. You know what I mean? They had to get everything in really
and Adventures
quick.
in Babysitting, a lot
Yeah,
happened.
that's
in there.
another one. That was
a great 80s one.
Yeah.
And that's funny though, because when we were talking about my book and like Netflix, and as I was telling Adam, I said, when you have 2 kids, say ages 8 to 13, you're trying to find that sweet spot where there's not swearing, there's no sex scenes, there's no acts of violence or self-harm. It's really hard to find family movies that aren't like kiddie movies.
See, and that's the thing with even with the PG-13 back in the day, they still had swear words, but it wasn't gratuitous,
Right.
like it is today.
Harry
like,
and the Hendersons. We just watched that. With the
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
They
But-
loved it.
But back in the day, even when they did swear in the PG-13 movies, it was like when something so erratic happened, and like those shock and awe moments.
Yes.
Were like, oh.
Right.
Shit.
Yeah, that would be it.
Yeah.
And that would be that would be it, and that would
Yeah.
be the only swear word of the movie.
But you still have the little ones. There were some cute one like My Spy. Did you see that yet with Dave Bautista? Oh, that's actually a good one.
You know what? My son was just telling me about
That's a good one.
Yeah, we're gonna
see
watch
those
that
kind of
one.
clean movies. I mean, there might be a swear word here and there.
Yeah, but like
it's-
he's saying, there'll be
it's-
one.
Yeah, that one, or even something called a sleepover.
Yeah,
where
that one was kinda
I mean, those are cute. You see what I'm saying? Those are good family
My son
movies.
loves the what is it, Grown Ups with Adam Sandler in them.
Oh, yeah.
That's not as clean as it
No,
should
it's not.
be.
Yeah.
But I'll let him watch the TV version,
Right.
which is a little cleaner.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and
But again, no. I mean, when you have kids and you're trying to find that family movie, and
Yes.
you can't watch Disney movies all the time,
No,
and you're trying to find something with action.
Yes.
It's hard to meet that
Yeah.
action clean version for kids.
And but because now they're even loosening the reins on PG-13, where they're gonna start letting loose on some more swear words, because that's what makes it PG-13 is how many cuss words are in the movie.
Yeah, but see,
yeah, I don't
know.
need that. I don't like that.
I don't see a purpose for that. To be
No,
honest
I
with you.
don't either.
I don't either.
I've always liked clean comedians. I mean, again, I don't have anything against them if they swear.
Sure.
It's just that sometimes I think when they try to swear, you lose trying to think about
Right.
either a joke or more action or something
That's
along those
where I
lines.
like Carlin, because
he was-
Carlin.
well, he was great.
He was fantastic.
Well,
But
there's
he-
adult comedy and then there's family comedy.
But he also went to the brink of basically telling people that these words are words and they have meaning, but meaning individual. And if you put them in together and make context out of them, you can't really pick it out.
Yeah.
Because you can't depict one word out of a sentence because it doesn't mesh with the sentence. Then the whole sentence crumbles.
Yeah, don't get me wrong with the comedians. I mean, they're some of my favorite comedians, Buddy Hackett. I mean, they swore a lot.
Buddy Hackett.
Yeah. How old am I, right? Yeah.
Buddy Hackett. Yeah, that was a good one.
He was great, but I mean, he swore a lot
Buddy
too.
Hackett?
So, yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, again, I mean, swearing's great and all, but again, when you're sitting down with the kids,
Yeah.
with the
Don
popcorn.
Rickles didn't swear a lot, did he?
No, he was fantastic.
Yeah, Don Rickles is one of my favorites. I was just watching him with my son
he
the other
swore.
day.
He was relentless.
You should
He
see him on
would-
the roasts. Oh my
Would he?
god.
I mean, I know he would swear.
I mean, I don't
but
think he was
not
known for
all-
that.
Yeah, it's not his. It wasn't his stick.
But some of his funny stories were.
Oh my goodness, what he used to do to Frank Sinatra
Well, yeah,
and stuff like
Did
that.
you hear,
yeah.
I mean, the one he said, "Frank, come up. I'm talking to
Yeah.
first date in Preston." Get out of here, Frank. I'm eating.
go ahead, go ahead and tell it. I mean, we've all heard it, but go ahead.
No, it was great. So,
Have you heard the story?
I'm sure it's been told.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
so if I remember correctly, where he went out to dinner with this girl before he was married. It was like a first date or something like
This
that.
is Don Rickles?
Yes, and he saw Frank Sinatra, so he walks up to Frank and says, "Hey, Frank, I'm with this girl. I'm trying to impress her. Can you come over here and say hi?" So he goes back and sits down, and about 10 minutes later, Frank Sinatra walks up, and he's like, "Hey, Don, how you doing?" And Don, like, "Frank, I'm on a date here. Just like, leave me alone, buzz off." And he was just like, hopping. Yeah. So he set him up to fail. So, but that was his type of humor.
Yeah, Frank was laughing, and that's why Frank said he would keep him around because he
Yeah.
was the only person that would keep him on his toes.
Oh,
And that's exactly it, keeping him on his toes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like with roasts, and people get so offended by the roasts and all that kind of.
Oh God, I love the roasts.
You got to look at watch the Don Rickles on Dean Martin.
Oh, I have.
The
Oh
roast.
yeah.
I'm glad you can make it here today and actually walk through the door on your own. You know?
Anything with Don Rickles is funny.
Yes. Yes.
Did you ever see the one where I guess he was in Vegas doing his stand up, and there was a mob guy in the front row, and he would pick on people in the audience, but he didn't pick on this guy. because he was afraid if he picked on this guy, the guy would kill him.
Right.
I guess the guy went backstage and was offended that he didn't pick on him.
So you can't win. You're in a
So,
losing
and
situation
Don's
there, man.
Don was like, I don't want to get killed. I'm
just
trying to pick on you.
You're just asking to get picked on that. man.
Yeah. So, but isn't that funny? How
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
that didn't get picked on, was offended.
I wouldn't have picked on him either. I would rather get yelled at later.
Yeah,
I'd rather
exactly.
ask for forgiveness.
Exactly. So,
You know?
But yeah, he was great. And it's funny that's all this stuff is a part of like my personality.
Sure.
And that's why I try to have when you go through this, and I don't know what chapter you're on, but you'll even see some smart aleck.
Well, I see it in the
undertones in
daughters.
there.
I see it in
Yeah.
the daughters.
Yep.
Because they're the way that they
The banter between each other.
between them exactly. Because
And that's their personalities.
Is it?
Like the
They're
younger one's more of a
sarcastic?
smart. Yeah, the younger one's a smart.
Are you
aleck.
Italian or Greek?
She's like me, Italian.
Okay.
So she's like I am.
So anybody that's Captain Obvious, yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Exactly. So yeah, she has a bit of a sharp tongue, and I'm more of a smart aleck myself.
Yeah.
So I put a lot in there, and one little secret. I don't think I even told you this. There's a character in there. His name is Vinzario. A lot of his dialogue is based on me. Like he's a big smart ass.
Okay.
So that's actually how I am. So when you read that now, you'll know more about it.
Okay.
Just in the comments he makes.
I'm going to put voices to the whole book now.
Yeah, so-
just because I have to.
Well, that's what I do.
Yeah, I always do. I mean, when I read a book, I'm a very slow reader. I don't know if they say ADD or whatever, but I take forever to read.
Yeah.
So when I read something, I put a voice to somebody's character.
And that's smart. That's probably what most people do. I would just say when I wrote it, I just did it all in my voice.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's funny.
Yeah, but it helps me kind of read the book.
Probably also allows you to differentiate between different characters.
Yes,
True.
that's why.
So it doesn't all blend together.
Yes,
And plus, it
yes.
keeps it interesting for you. So that way
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this character, how do I gotta?
Right. Exactly.
Well, I was kind of always into acting as a kid. I always wanted to act out
too.
everything, or I was really into the old radio, like when the World of Worlds. My grandparents
Yeah.
showed me that when I was really little. I did acting classes in junior high and high school, and then we
Oh,
had
I'm
to
learning
act out.
something about you.
We had to act out World of Worlds. Yeah, and that I loved that kind of stuff, and I was always too shy to get up on the stage and do it. So I learned I was much better at the behind the scenes kind of thing.
See, and that's where him and I have common ground with this because I have probably about 5 pages of stand-up act
Really?
that I want to freaking go on stage and do it, but I
Oh, I'm
Sometimes
terrible. I
you just
can't
have,
do it.
You just have to do
Yeah.
it.
because I have probably I think I time myself to 32 minutes.
Okay.
So if I go to an open mic night, it's 4 minutes. So if I can just grab punchlines from each bit and try to mesh them together and make a 4-minute bit out of it, I can go to Naperville.
Sometimes I'm not saying you're going to, but sometimes failure makes you stronger. I mean,
True,
because
that's-
when you realize it can't get worse than this.
Right,
I mean,
and that's what I sit there and like today. My favorite comedians today are Bill Burr, Tom Segura,
Oh, yeah.
Bert Kreischer,
Yep.
and their first thing out of their mouth is like, "You don't learn nothing until you absolutely fucking
Right.
crash on the stage, and nobody laughs at you.
right.
You don't know
and
nothing.
that has to be harsh.
Oh,
I mean, because you're up there by yourself. I mean, I'm gonna say that has to be harsh, but you learn, and that's something I always try to teach my kids. I'm like, hey. Failure is good because you learn from your mistakes. If you don't learn from your mistakes, that's a problem.
No.
I said Thomas Edison didn't get the bulb right on the first try.
No.
So I mean, you have to pick yourself up and keep
Yeah.
going.
Now,
But no, I wish you luck.
if you do the Amazon thing, please don't be like some of the other authors and just do a royalty share thing. Make sure you do like a royalty share plus.
I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you. So I'll have to
Because
look
once you
into
get into it, because they have like different options at how you can pay your publishers
Okay.
and your producers to
Okay.
produce your book. I spent like a month and a half on each of these books down here recording.
Okay.
8 hours a day, recording, editing. And like you said, most of the time is editing.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
is.
I have 34 minutes of audio recorded, but that 34 minutes is going to take me an hour and a half to break down, get all the fat out of it, and make sure that it sounds
I
the way
get
you
it.
want it to
Oh,
sound.
I get it. Yeah.
And then you're down to actually 14 minutes of actual meat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where all that work comes in. And then I'm like, you get on Amazon, you're like, okay, cool. You start getting your sales, and then a month and a half, the book's on sale. You only sold 8. And you're like,
Yeah.
all right, so this isn't very friggin' profitable.
Well, and that's the thing, though. It's rough. I mean, just like that. Same thing with the book. I mean, you're hoping that someone picks it up that can lead you to the next. You basically always want to be moving forward or up.
But it's
That's way I
also
look
on
at
the
it.
shareholder too. And from what I'm reading on the contracts is that the shareholder can also, oh, okay, here's $500 up front editing fee.
Okay.
Because I know editing is time. Here's $500, get it done. That's incentive for that person.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean? Because if they read the book and then
Oh,
they
you're
feel
saying.
like,
Oh, I get what you're saying.
because I didn't get anything until the book starts selling. Okay.
Right.
On Amazon.
Right.
And now I have a contract with Amazon for the next 7 years on these books.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
So who knows? You
Well,
know?
that's how this is now. I don't get anything until it sells.
Right.
And I found this out after the fact. You don't get paid until 4 months later.
So wait, so do you put all the costs up front? Wow.
Yeah.
So you got to pay for the editing and the publishing and everything.
Wow. So you pay for everything, and then they take their piece out and then send you yours 4 months later.
Yep.
Wow.
That sucks.
So like I said, I didn't do it to become rich.
Yeah.
Because, and I even said, I go, I'd be a lot skinnier if that was the case.
Yeah.
You have to sell a lot of books
Yeah.
just to make a couple
Or
bucks.
you need to be represented by either the right book agent
Or
someone that has
publicist,
connections where they can promote hundreds of thousands of copies for
Right,
you.
right. Where they're
As-
going to pay you.
As opposed to me
right.
going to schools and only doing 30 here or 40 there or 30 here,
Right.
which I'm happy to do.
So
but
it's more like an independent.
Correct.
book. Okay.
right.
Wow. I never thought about that. Jeez.
Have you thought about going mainstream, like trying to go to like a New York publicist with it and try to?
You can't see. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, see, this
I did it
is-
after the fact. You can't go to a publicist. You have to get a book agent, and the book agent goes to the publicist.
Isn't that crazy? It's the same thing
so
with
you
got
got to sit there and pay this guy to get this guy so you can.
Well,
pay
they
him.
get 10%. They would get 10%, but they won't even represent you unless they. Here's the story. So after I wrote the book, and I asked my daughter, I said, "Okay, how do we get this published?" I go, "What publisher do I send it to?" She goes, "No, Dad, you have to get a book agent." I'm like, "Why do I need a book agent?" She goes, "That's what you do." She's like, I researched it for you, and you just send out a query letter." I go, "What's a query letter?" So this is my 14-year-old daughter at the time telling me this. So I looked into it, and I said, "Okay, maybe I should have done this the other way around." So I worked for a month. I worked on a query letter, a synopsis, the pitch. You have to send all this stuff out. So then I went into something, and you basically look up what type of book you've written and what type of agent you want. And then you start sending these query letters out. So I sent out 20 the first time. Now, I didn't expect to get a bite or nibble right away.
Sure.
Because I think even the only self-made billionaire for Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, I think she was rejected the first 12 times, something like that. So the first,
I know it was a lot.
yeah, first 12 or 20 book agents or publicists rejected her. I'll imagine that.
Oh man.
Right,
Imagine
right.
being number 19.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
That's like passing Tom Brady in the
Yeah,
draft.
exactly. So I'm like, okay, 20, no. Another 20, no. Another 20, no. Another 20, no. Now, at the same time, I would be lying if I didn't say, it's a little crushing, almost like going on stage and bombing, because imagine going for, say, 60 interviews and not one yes.
Yeah.
Or you try the door and every door is locked. So I sent out 140 and not one yes
How did you send it out?
through these queries.
Okay.
So you email them.
Okay.
So you check it up, and a lot of them, sometimes they have the online forms,
Okay.
and some of them are emails, no snail mail. And they all say the same thing, if you don't hear back from us in 6 to 8 weeks, it's a no. Sometimes they would email back, but it was the same.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, it was
No
the s-
news is
it-
bad
It was the
news.
same standard, though. It's like the same standard form, apparently,
Sure.
in the business. So what I found out as time went on, because one agent was actually brazen enough to put it in there, she said, if you did not take one of my classes or seminars,
Oh.
or if you were not referred to me by a client, or if I'm sorry, back up. If you were referred to me by a client, or you took one of my seminars and classes, put that in the first sentence of your paragraph.
Wow.
Because they want to know if you paid to see
So
it.
to me, of course, that is the age-old saying, it's not what you know, but who you know.
Yeah.
So I learned that these emails that I'm sending were almost like a slush email going to a slush email account where they probably never even got read. I mean, 95% of what I send out probably never got read.
Right.
Probably had the automatic reply on it.
Exactly. One of my favorites, though, is one where, and again, they would only say, send the first 10 pages,
Yeah.
send your synopsis, send a query letter, and we'll get back to you. So I sent it out, 10 pages, a query letter, a synopsis. Now, I'm a fast reader. I think within 1 minute, I got a response saying, I reviewed your materials. I don't find your characters charming enough, but I wish you the best of luck. I'm like, unless she was sitting at her computer just waiting for my email to come through.
And that's your synopsis.
I think that was just a very generic, but again, I mean, and not that I have thin skin, but just say you weren't interested. I mean, how could you even say that the characters aren't charming? That's like looking at, 10 pages of a 300-page book. That's like looking at a 1-inch spot of your clothing and saying, I don't like your outfit.
Yeah.
Or looking at 1% of their face and saying, I don't think you're attractive. Right. I mean, how do you even guess the whole picture just based on that?
Jesus.
So that was the problem I ran into. And then at that point, it was a little discouraging. And then someone suggested, you know what? Why don't you just publish it yourself? So I said, okay. So I went through a company. I published it myself. And then after that, when the book came like this, I was pretty excited. Someone said, well, why don't you send it out to some book agents or book critics just to see if it has legs? Yeah. And that's when I got excited because it was 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars.
Now, how did you find out about this panel?
So after I had it published, the, we'll call him publisher, recommended possibly reaching out to book critics. Okay. So you could Google like book critics for history books, book critics for teen books. Okay. So there's a bunch of people that, belong to either companies or they're independents, and they will review your book and give you a review. So I was excited when they started coming back 5 stars. So then I was like, okay, maybe the book is not only something in my heart and my kids love and I love, but maybe there's some legs there where other kids might like it, because these book critics that I don't know, that, it's not like my mother-in-law or, cousin or someone saying, hey, it's a great book, wink, wink. They're saying it was good, and they went into some great details. They compared some of it to...
more than just your characters are not interesting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, how you like that? So, they compared it to some things. I think one compared it to the Quillin, Quillin, from the Harry Potter's series, the Magical Beast, that one. There's a character in there. He compared the Triceracorn to that. I'm like, I never even thought of that
you're talking about.
because I never watched it. Yes, I didn't know. Huh. So I'm like, that's pretty interesting. Yeah. And they went into some like great detail. So I think I have those book critics reviews on my website. So if anyone's ever interested, they can check it out. But it was pretty interesting to see some of their...
What's the name of the website?
VMMbooks.com. Yeah. So it was pretty interesting to get people's takes on it, where when I wrote these things, I wasn't even thinking of that because I never even saw that. But it was a nice comparison. And again, when those 5 stars came back, I'm like, that's great. So then this was back in May, June, July of last year. So then I think I took a break over the Christmas holiday of like trying to advertise. So I said, you know what, for the heck of it, let me reach out to some new book agents to see, now that I'm, grassroots, knocking on doors, selling books, got 5 stars from all the book critics. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it was ranked #1 in sales for 5 months in a row. Huh. So it was selling great through Amazon,
so obviously
Barnes
it has
and Noble.
Legs,
right.
So.
And it was doing really well. I was going to all these like little book fairs, so to say.
Sure.
And, I was proud of it, was doing great. And I said, you know what? Let me reach out to these book agents now and include, hey, guess what? It's 5 stars. It's ranked #1 in sales. And I actually sold out 3 times on Barnes and Noble and Amazon. So I sent it out to, I think, another 40 book agents, total of 180. Still no.
Wow. What the hell? I don't get it. I mean, if the critics like it,
what do I have to do? The kids love it. The kids love it.
Well, that's the thing, is that I don't think you're actually getting through to those people. I think you're right. It's just going right into their spam folder.
Exactly.
And just going right into the junk.
Right. Because I could understand that maybe it's not your cup of tea. Say, for example, if you're a history buff, this is not your cup of tea.
Sure.
But I'm going towards people who are advertising that this is what they're looking for, fantasy.
Because this demographic, I want to say it's like Laura Croft has a sister.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it meets Marvel universe.
Again, I never thought about that, but yeah, exactly. Because it's strong, it's strong girl power, two
Right.
sisters.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and it's a bunch of kids from around the world, teamwork, working together. That's why I call it the Goonies.
Yeah.
But it's good, clean fun. But I would think, and I don't get it, but I would think after 180 with 5 stars from the critics and #1 in sales, there would be at least one.
agent, yeah.
And again, unless I'm sending it to where I'm supposed to be sending it.
Yeah.
So then I just gave up. I'm like, you know what? If I can't,
See,
See,
I think
I'm
your
the kinda
best
guy,
bet.
I would show up.
Yeah, I would walk into one of those agents and
The
just
book,
throw
the
that
cover
book at 'em.
alone.
yeah. But the problem is
Attracts
they're
people.
they're all in New York or Los Angeles.
There's none in
There's
Chicago.
none
here?
in Chicago.
No,
Get the hell
no,
out.
they're all New York, Los Angeles, San Diego. I don't think I sent one to anywhere in Chicago.
Wow,
Really.
there's got to be something here.
I don't know. But again, I mean, I was baffled. I was
Yeah.
really especially the second time around, because I had some meat
And
to
you
put in
figure
there.
something because this is the third biggest, market in the country.
Right.
Where the hell is it?
I had some meat at that point.
Yeah.
Like say, hey, listen, of course I'm biased. I think it's good, but don't take my word for it. Take the book critics, the #1 in sales. I mean, I don't get it. And usually every book signing I do, I sell out.
Maybe you should go in there and give them the Godfather deal.
So I don't know. So that's why, and I know nobody in this industry, it'd be kind of nice if I knew someone who knew someone, because, no, thank you. I think then at that point, it'd be a different story.
Interesting. So there's always roadblocks no matter where you
Oh,
go.
yeah. Yeah. So again, don't be discouraged because I had 180 locked doors.
No,
Or
yeah, I
180, no's.
See, but the thing that keeps me from, going on stage and doing that shit is because that takes a certain kind of person. You know what I mean? And it's not that I'm not that type of person. I don't know if I can go through getting nothing and pouring everything into it. You know what I mean? At this stage in life.
How
'Cause
about going into it and thinking, let me just try to get something? So
True.
Maybe if you go in there and you tell 30 jokes, maybe looking for, okay, I'll be happy if I get laughs at 2 or 3 jokes. I hate to say set the bar low, but that way
Right.
you're not so disappointed. I mean, I would say the odds of you going on there and getting 0 laughs is, not going to happen.
Right.
a great way
Might
of
get a
looking at it,
chuckle,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
same
But still,
token,
well,
yeah.
again, I mean,
If you're gonna bomb in style.
Start kicking shit over. Fuck it. You do a Sam
I'm
Kinison
gonna
style.
make you guys laugh. I mean, this is gonna happen.
yeah.
Going Sam Kinison style.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So again, you have to give it a shot because I gave it a shot. It was fun. It was rewarding. I had fun. There are people out there that like it. I mean, again, your humor may not be for everybody. This book may not be for everybody, but
true. But that's awesome, man.
I loved it.
It's-
I loved the
it's-
cover. I loved the characters. I loved.
It's inspiring.
oh, speaking of characters, see that's something fun because I came up with an idea back at one of my first little markets that I brought a wheel with me.
Yeah.
The wheel. I call it the wheel of winners. And I was trying to think something I could do to make the kids captivated or even enjoy the process more. And I came up with the idea that if you buy a book, you get to pick a number and spin the wheel. And if it lands on your number, I will make you a character in my next book.
Oh, nice.
And what I
Make it
did was
personable for people.
I did
It's
that.
pretty neat too.
Well, book 2 was already written, but it wasn't sent out yet. So from all the little gatherings I had 30 wheel winners. And I'm like, okay, hopefully I didn't chew off or
Do you
bite
have
off more
30
like a chew.
characters you can write about?
So what I did was when I went back and I finally edited for the 30th time book 2, I went in there and not only did I add like a character here and there, but I wrote like another 50 pages throughout the book. And actually I had a lot of fun doing that because it made it fresh again for me. So instead of just rereading everything I already did, and here's one good scene. And people are like, well, how could you include 30 characters? Well, there's one scene where they're walking through a hallway. The kids are walking through a hallway and they're trying to find something. So they're opening up these doors and they heard a ruckus. So they opened up this one door and the famous painting, The Dogs Playing Poker.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they came across these dogs, six dogs playing poker. And I gave each one of those dogs a name.
Can
So-
I help you with something?
Yeah, I was able to do 6 of the kids, and they had a couple little arguments. They were gambling with dog bones, so I made it like cute and fun. But that was a way to include
Right.
6 characters right there.
Yeah.
So I found it fun and
It's one of my
easier
favorite pictures.
and easier than I thought, to be honest
love
with you,
that picture.
by including those kids.
That's cool. Yeah, I was thinking of like a like a basketball game or a sporting event where you name.
I did that too.
Oh yeah, okay.
I promised when I went to my first two schools, one was Stone School Elementary and one was Fullerton. All the kids that bought the book spun the wheel and no one won. So I felt so bad, I told them that would include their school.
Well, see,
And
there
they
you
went
go.
crazy. They were cheering. They
Now
were
that's
so
cool.
excited.
It's
and it's
cool.
cute just to see how excited they got.
Sure.
So, and I won't ruin it, but in there, those two schools are playing against each other. And it's a battle like who's going to win the game. And it's...
Do you do when you do these schools, do you do book fairs or do you just do like auditorium?
No, usually auditorium, although I just did Wayne Elementary last Wednesday. It was a book fair / family night. So they were there specifically for that.
Was that like a scholastic type thing, or?
Just through the school itself. It wasn't like other schools involved or other like book fairs involved. It was just the school itself. I spoke to them on a Monday, last Monday, a week ago from today. I spoke to them on a Monday. They went home and told their parents, and then I was there on Wednesday. And a lot of parents came in like, "Oh yeah, we heard about you for 2 days in a row. You know, she's so excited, or he's so excited to buy
My
their
daughter,
book."
same thing. That's
So
awesome.
yeah. So it was
awesome.
fun.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And again, they bought the book. We spun the wheel, so it was nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been
Well,
fun
hell
to
yeah.
read the book. It's been fun to share the book. Every time I have a couple copies of the book sitting on my desk, someone comes by and asks me about it. And I'm like, you know what? Take a copy.
And what I
You know?
always do, and I always ask, and if you ever get a chance again, if you go on my website, vmmbooks.com, I have excited fans as one of the headings.
Yeah.
And I have all the kids, of course, through permission of their parents, that bought my book, holding up the book, just to say thank you back to you guys for supporting me. Because
Show it to the camera.
Because again, I'm a no-named author, and the kids get so excited. And yesterday I was at Barnes and Noble, and I had I think 3 wheel winners, and one of the girls, I think she was like a 10-year-old girl, just got so excited.
Nice.
Sometimes they get teary-eyed. I mean, it's cute. I mean, just remember when you were 10 years old, just believing, and you still have that imagination, and just the fact that she's her name's going to be in the book was pretty
Yeah,
exciting.
it probably lit her up and made her day.
so that's
you know?
nice,
It's
so.
like, yeah, that's cool, man.
I really like the cover. I think the cover.
Thank you.
The illustration was really. Are you going to have the same person do the next book?
Well, book 2. So through the publicist, so to say, they're the ones that recommend the artist. I cannot draw to save my life, so this concept was all mine in stick figures, and then he drew it, and I loved it. And so many people, I never had anybody tell me they didn't like the cover, but so many books actually sold because of the cover, and that was my goal, to kind of grasp the kids and pull it in. Now, when I did book 2, that artist no longer worked there. So I have a new artist that already did book 2, and the cover's already done.
Oh, nice.
So I tried to keep it very consistent, but in a way, it's almost like 2 different painters, maybe trying to paint the same thing.
Yeah.
You'll see a little bit of a difference, but I still think it's enough where it flows.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very creative. It's very eye catchy too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And this scene here, just for you, a little secret. This is my favorite part of book number 1.
All right.
The concept that I came up with about the Venus flytrap and what she's doing. When I wrote that, I was like, I like that. So, I mean, you usually don't
All right, I
pat
haven't
yourself.
gotten there yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you usually don't pat yourself on the back. But when I did that in that scene, I'm like, I really like that scene.
Hell yeah.
So the first book process was 5 years. How long was the second book process?
Well, I wrote book 1 and 2. So what happened was when I started writing the book,
Oh.
I finished and I told my oldest daughter, "Hey, I'm done with the book." And the first thing she said is, "How many pages is it?" And I said, "It's 100 pages." She goes, "That's not enough."
Yeah, not enough.
You can
and I'm
skip
like,
right through that.
So then I started writing again. And then I said, "Okay, I'm done." She's like, "How many pages is it?" I go, 600 pages. She goes, "That's too long." She goes, "Dad, that's too long. No one's going to read that." I said, "I have a great idea. Let's cut it
There
in
you go.
half."
Yep.
So 1 and 2 took me a year to write because I wrote it all together. I didn't write book 1, stop, book 2, stop. I wrote it all as one book. And then basically the way I categorize it is if it's like a 6-hour movie, I just chopped it after 3 hours.
Okay.
So I don't know how Kill Bill was done or some other movies.
So you just kind of ended it in one chapter and,
then-
just kind of
and
like
a
left it open.
on a major cliffhanger. And then book 2 picks up right there.
Nice. Nice.
So that's how I did that.
Do we know the name of the second book?
It's the same name, The Last Triceracorn, just book 2.
Gotcha.
That's
So
Triceracorn.
didn't want to make it too fancy because I wanted people to know it's the same series
Yeah.
or same, book 1 and book 2. So
So here's a lawyer question for you. When you write a book like this, how do you make sure that
Can
you're
I get your card so you can bail my ass out?
How do you stepping on? He's done that enough. How do you make sure you're not stepping on toes? How do you not make sure you're not copyrighted? How do you do all that?
You know, in a way, I think that's up to the publicist to figure out.
Oh, really?
But without
they run it against things, I think.
But without knowing myself, I kept it very clean in that aspect. For example, I didn't put like a Coca-Cola can,
Okay.
or she drink a Coca-Cola, or
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know. I mean, yeah, I'm a lawyer, but
She drank a soda.
I don't know copyright law. I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah, she's
anything about
drinking
this.
a soda.
I didn't know anything about this industry, so I try to really keep like brand names out.
Yeah.
Although I think it's fine because I've read so many books where they have like Xerox copy or they have Coke or whatever it
Well,
is.
Xerox copier is kind of like a generic name now.
Yeah, it is, but it's still Xerox though. I mean,
Yeah.
But we can go back to the Coca-Cola or Sprite or whatever it is.
Kleenex.
I think you're allowed to do that. But you know, there's always that. I think that catch-all phrase: everything in here is not true and accurate, or it's a art or fiction of art or something like that. So you know, people could be like, oh, I think that resembles this, but you truly don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, things are inspired.
Everybody's interpreted this,
Yeah.
differently. So I mean, whatever.
Everyone has
It's a
inspiration
hell of a
somewhere.
story to start out because I haven't gotten all the way through it. I'll be honest with you, but it starts out fucking awesome, and I'm trying to get
Thanks.
through. It
Yeah,
really does.
Again, and I like that. I do like some parents that will buy it for the kids that are even too young to read, because now they're doing what I did with my girls. They said to me, like, every night they'll read to their 4-year-old or 5-year-old like a half a chapter, or however long they can,
Yeah.
stay
Well, your
there.
chapters aren't long, so it doesn't really, because I think I got through chapter. I think I'm up at chapter 4 or 5 right now.
Yeah,
Where they meet Zuko and they're in their meeting.
I'll be honest. I didn't really focus on that. I mean, I know you're right. Where some chapters may only be 5 or 6 pages. One chapter is maybe only like one chapter. So basically, my chapters are pretty much based on my thought process as to what's going on. So
in this particular moment.
yeah, and this, like, for example, I just opened it up on page 32. Chapter 9 is only one page. It's because it was like, hey, it's this concept. I completed that concept.
And we're
it's
easing
done.
into something else.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I think some chapters might be 10, 12 pages long.
Yeah.
So I do note that I believe book 2 has less chapters, but the chapters are longer.
Huh.
Because now I think in book 1 you're trying to develop the plot.
Yeah.
Where in book 2
You're into
okay,
the nitty-gritty.
I'm into the nitty-gritty. What's happening now?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if you look up on ACX and you put it up there, I'll put an audition in for it.
Absolutely.
That's pretty neat. So you auditioned for the book,
Yeah,
and then the writer picks.
Yeah, well, see, that's the process on my end, because your end, I don't know. I mean, you go on ACX and you can just say I want to publish a book, and freaking then they sit there. I think they read it,
Okay. I don't even
and
know.
then they'll submit it for producing,
Okay.
and then my end, they'll just sit there and say they'll put you on the list of books looking for producers, and then I'll submit a 10-minute audition of whatever manuscript you like. Select the first 10 pages.
Okay.
So they want 15 minutes. I think it's a 15-minute read. So you give me the manuscript and I do 15 minutes and I submit that. If you like it, great. If you don't, piss off, and then you can move on to the next guy.
Right.
So
That's pretty cool.
So you got more and more people will audition for your book, and whoever meets your fancy on the voices and how they put it together and how they read it and how their voice depicts the story on how you envision it is based on you.
Yeah, see, I never even thought about that. I don't even know how that works. I mean,
To
this is
me,
the first
that's
I'm
my
hearing.
favorite thing.
Is it?
Yeah, because that, like I said, I could put this in a on a podcast. I could download it onto my phone, and I could be sitting at work cranking it out and listening to the story.
Okay.
And to me, that is so much more relaxing than, like I said, I'm a slow reader, but I'm a quick thinker, so I can work.
You're slow with
Yeah, I can work. I think well, to me, and what I enjoy.
See, to me that would be too distracting to me. That's funny.
Yeah, see, no, I can't listen to music. Music is distracting to me. Listening to other people's conversation, because it's like having a conversation.
Well, see, after a while on a road trip, you'll find if you listen to music for a while, it'll put you to sleep. So that's why you change it up. Because I'll listen
definitely.
I'll listen to a Rogan podcast, and his podcasts are anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours, 3.5 hours. You know, depending on whoever his guest is. I'll listen to the whole damn thing. And I'll just be like, oh shit, man, it's been that long already.
Well, it's funny that it's interesting. Like everyone has their own take. Or
yeah. I enjoy I've been in construction so long that I've always been using my hands, and we're talking as we're doing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like this guy's over here doing calculations and radiuses because he's a surveyor, so was I. The whole time we're doing that, we're literally talking about, you know, what we did last night. You know, and that's just my way my brain operates. So
That's good though, because there are some people that they can only focus at one thing at one time. And, you know, unless you're just juggling one ball. You know?
yeah, I mean,
I'm rowing with one row.
yeah, I can.
Yeah, no, it's sometimes you have to multitask. So
Yeah.
Not always. I can, but certain things, I think that's how my brain operates. You know, I think it's.
well, maybe someday in the future we'll see.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty.
So I don't know what kind of time frame you got here. I mean.
Well, I won't lie to you. I just told my wife 15 minutes before I came here that I was coming here.
So you're probably in the doghouse.
And she was just starting to make dinner. So, but I said, I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't know what the layout is. I don't know anything about anything. But Adam was nice enough to set it up. So I'm here.
No, yeah, I wanted to talk about your book,
no, I
get it
appreciate
out there.
it.
I mean,
appreciate
I got 500 listeners, so I mean, hopefully they'll check it
That's
out.
awesome. And the funny thing is, now that I mentioned my wife, a lot of the kids, they will ask questions. You know, it's funny how perceptive kids are. You know, and there's always the typical, you know, how did you come up with the name? What inspired you? But one or two or three of the schools did ask, are you in the book? And is your wife in the book? And I'm like, those are good questions.
Yeah, that is good.
And I told them that yes and yes. And book number 2, we're both in there.
Did you add yourself in the book, or were you already going to be in the book?
I was already in it.
Or were you as Matea and
I'm their
Luciana's
dad. I'm their dad.
Just dad.
Yeah, I'm their dad, and I don't give my name. I just say dad.
Dad.
And same thing with her. And it's pretty funny because she's a great cook, so I incorporated that in the book. When they come back from one of their little adventures and they're run down and they're ragged.
And Mom was making her homemade patented spaghetti.
You are almost right on the spot. And I won't give it away, but Zuko had 2 plates of pasta.
Zuko,
Yeah.
that pig.
Yeah, so but it's
Spade's a
pretty funny though. She's in the book also, and I even poke fun at myself because as you are like a hands-on kind of guy, I wasn't that way growing up. I was more always the book kind of kid.
Okay.
But I will say in the last like 10 years, I enjoyed doing things with my hands, even though I almost cut my finger off on a table saw. So I should stick to writing. But I enjoyed making things like coral for my fish tank.
Okay.
I enjoyed doing those things, and I made fun of like me in a way, and I put that in the book about the coral.
God, I'm an old fart.
Yeah, about cacti or cactus. Something about those I really like. So there are some inside jokes of me even poking fun at myself.
Well, the cactus, there's something serene about it.
Well, that's why I like.
It's-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it's very inanimate. It doesn't grow.
Right.
Well, it does grow, but it's just like,
I don't know get kooky and say spiritual, but something, you know. It's,
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
yeah. So I
I'm
love
with
going
you.
to I love going to the deserts out in Arizona. I love going, you know, with the walks in the family through the open desert. And actually, that's also in here a little bit. But I do poke fun of myself, and like I said, my wife's in there. She is a great cook, and you'll see that she's also pretty good with a knife.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
yeah, so a little teaser for book 2.
well, before you get out of here, why don't you give everybody your info and where they can
Sure.
look up your book and what your book is called? And
Again, it's called The Last Triceracorn. And the easiest way is to go on to vmmbooks.com. That's V as in Victor, M as in Michael, M as in Michael, books.com. You'll see all the happy kids. You'll see how I started coming about this idea, writing about this idea, and a couple other little excerpts that are pretty interesting, I think.
very cool.
And
Very
this is
cool.
on Spotify, right?
Spotify, yeah. So and plus I'm on Anchor, I'm on iHeart, I'm on Google, I'm on Pocket Cast, I'm on Spotify.
And you're going to be on stage sometime soon.
God, I hope so. If I can
right.
get the
Let us
balls
know.
for it.
Actually,
Let us know.
he's the gunslinger.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's the
I'm
Now
more of
I
an
know.
actor. I'll get in front of the camera,
Now-
no problem. You know,
Isn't it
this
funny?
is no problem for me.
That's
because
Which is funny too. Yes, I could do camera work. If I know the crew and I know everyone that's there, I don't give a shit.
But
Sorry.
if you go on YouTube and if you check out my Setting the Bar, I interviewed people for a small time internet radio or TV show. I created a segment for this. It was based around bikers,
Okay.
and I created a segment, Meet on the Street.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And I'm Meat, MEAT.
Really?
And it's like we meet on the street. We meet our people on the street, but I'm Meat. you know?
Interesting.
So I went around to a couple of different biking places and I interviewed the owners and people that work there and shit like that and got to know people and Andrew's Precision Gears. They actually make
Where was this at?
It was based out of Addison.
Okay.
So, and I did that, but she ended up ripping me off.
Do you have a YouTube
story.
channel?
Yeah. Huh?
Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. Yeah. It's Setting the Bar at Dave's.
Cool.
So,
I'll check it out.
yeah, I got a few on there. I still got some processing issues that I got with my computer, but I'm gonna have more videos going up there. I got tons of podcasts I gotta put up there.
Awesome.
I got 5 of them yet.
Well, again, if you're ever doing a stand-up, let us know, too.
I will.
We'll be there.
Do you know how I met him? Speaking of stand-up and stage.
What, did he bail your ass out of jail?
Kinda, but Kenneth.
Kenneth?
Yeah, that's how I got introduced
You
to
know
him.
Kenneth. Oh, jeez. Did you bail him out of jail?
Well, attorney-client privilege, I can't say. I can't confirm or deny. But we do go usually every year to listen to the bands.
Nice.
My kids love it. I love it. I won't say they love all the '80s songs. I love more of the '80s songs. But,
Well, yeah, that's what
but
they're
it's fun.
mainly
But
playing.
they're fun.
Yeah.
We usually go whether it's at they were at Bannerman's one time in Bartlett, Algonquin. We've been to them before. I think we've probably seen them about 4 or 5 times out.
Yeah, I think the first time I saw you was at a festival.
Yeah.
I was picking Kenneth up because we were roommates at the time.
And pretty soon I'm going to be broadcasting near Bannerman's because I'm going to be moving out there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he's in the process of heading
That's
out
why
that way.
things are a little in disarray.
But yeah.
Should I tell them what I said on the way in?
Yeah, go ahead. It's funny you said that because that's literally what I was watching when we got on the way here.
I said I feel like I'm in the scene of Breaking Bad.
I'm not cooking meth. Yeah. Don't worry.
When you said that, I was just like, really?
That's terrible.
I know that is.
I feel like
so
I'm Jesse
judgmental.
now.
So judgmental. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I don't have a Mercedes.
I'm just glad you weren't like chained to the link. Like did he have a wire? No, not a wire. He had chained to the cable, the dog, when he was making the meth. At the end.
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Just be glad I didn't answer the door. My hat cocked.
That's right.
My pants sagging.
That's
Hey,
right.
what's up, man?
Well, I trusted him enough that he would know. Yeah.
Well, you are military, so I figured we had that going. We had manners there. So.
That's right.
But yeah, so that was very cool. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. It was
And,
fun.
Vincent Miceli, check it out. The Last Triceracorn. So there you have it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. We'll be seeing you.
Thank you.
Peace.
I've been waiting to say this all year, and I'm gonna say it.
It's that time again.
Get the stepping.
We gotta say goodnight.
Don't leave until I put you out. Get out!
You know it's getting late.
Get out!
Tomorrow is another day,
Well, if you knew it, get to going.
my friend.